We are diving into the Berserk manga again. Prime One Studios has taken that two-dimensional black and white artwork and once again turned it into a 3D model of none other than Casca. Arguably the baddest ass female lead you will ever see. Of course, it's 2022. If I offended anybody by calling this woman a female, I deeply apologize. But today we're going to check out this chick. As the Extreme channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we are giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Welcome to the Extreme channel. My name is Mr. X, and today we're looking at a quarter scale statue from Prime One Studio pulled out of the pages of Berserk. So if you're a follower of the channel, you know that recently I did this review on Skull Knight on Horse, one of the biggest pieces I've ever gotten. And Casca actually arrived at the same time. Now clearly she's not as impressive as Skull Knight on Horse, but there are some things on her that I think are actually even better. So if you're unfamiliar, Berserk, where she comes from, is a... I'm watching the Broncos football game as I film. Preseason, so it doesn't matter. The Bills are kicking their ass, but it's okay. So, if you're unfamiliar, Berserk is a graphic novel. I'm on volume 8 right now, and there's about 20 or 30 volumes. So Casca isn't the main character, but she's the main female lead. Sorry, main lead as a chick. And she is badass. She leads the Band of the Hawk sometimes, which is kind of this unstoppable army. And the whole storyline of Berserk goes through the Band of the Hawk and many of their characters fighting monsters and gods and devils and other people, and it is really entertaining. It's the only graphic novel I have ever liked. And these statues made by Prime One Studio are actually what got me into the graphic novels. So today we're going to look at her, and she is probably the cleanest, most non-bloody one of them all. Because I've done a countdown of all of them right here. I've owned about a dozen of them, and I've narrowed down my collection to about 8 or 9. And it's just the main characters I like a lot, and she is one of them. So we're going to kick off the review with concept. What is this statue about? Does it follow a storyline? Is it cool looking? They have an ornate base, and I talk about this all the time. It matches the rest of the line, with one exception. On the front plate here, you actually have the symbol of the Band of the Hawk. Now, what's below are a bunch of defeated enemies, because she defeats enemies much bigger than her. She is incredibly skilled, however, not the most skilled compared to some of the other statues that I've reviewed in the past. So maybe she destroyed them, maybe Guts or Griffith destroyed some of them, but as you move up, she was clearly in a battle, in a war, or maybe she just arrived there, because as you go up Casca, you don't really see any damage or blood to her body. And you know, right now where I'm reading in Volume 8 is right after those horrible events happened, so she's kind of in a comatose state where she doesn't really know what's going on. Her traditional armor, she's holding out a sword here with her hilt on the left side, ready to fight. She never turned down from anything, and I think the powerful pose on this statue really helps show that. You have a little bit of fluidity to the statue. Her cape is kind of flowing in the wind, and she's very serious. I think it's a very good portrait look on her, even though there's a few portraits we can display, because she was always really thinking things through. She was very private. One of the only females in the Band of the Hawk. Clearly that has to be difficult. You know, if I was the only male surrounded by females, I wouldn't call that difficult. I'd call that a dream come true. But anyway, I think it's a great statue. It's simple yet complex, and it goes well with the rest of the line. So I'm going to give the concept a 4 out of 5. I like how they showed the poise of her, the power of her, and they did a lot with the base instead of making it boring. Design fairly simplistic, but there are some switch out options, and as you can see, a lot of different pieces. Let's look closer at that in the unboxing and assembly. Small, manageable box, much better than the 4 boxes from Skull Knight. Now there were hidden compartments on the top and bottom. Here's the top, had tons of pieces. I did not expect this. The bottom was the flag of the hawk, and then here is the main pieces. So some different display options. First, with her right arm, you have two different arms. One is pointing more down, so you can have a sword that's pointing down even further, or as you see right here, or pointing out. Then the arm is up a little bit more on the right arm if you want to do that. And again, you have those same different sword options. So one that's really pointing up, and one that's kind of pointing forward. Now our portrait, there are two different options. One, she has her helmet on, and the other, she doesn't. Now with her left hand, depending on what portrait you display, you can use a closed fist for both of them. Or if she has her helmet off, you could use one where she's holding her helmet. Now what I really like, probably one of the smallest Berserk pieces out there, there's a few that are a little bit smaller, 13 inches wide, give or take. And she is just under 23 inches, probably a little taller, 24 with the flag. Now, if you want exact dimensions, go to Comic Concepts website. That's where I bought her from. So I like how easily she is to display. I'm going to put her right next to Guts and Puck. If you know who those people are and you want to see what she looks like, make sure to check out the Extreme Channel social media, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Bills are trying to get in the end zone, and they have a flag every single time. So I like everything about the design. I really can't find any issues. I guess one thing I would say differently is I would have liked to see if she had another sword in the other hand or a dagger, or if the different portraits had more emotion. However, I don't think that's something to knock a whole point off, so I'm going to give the design a 5 out of 5 actually. It's done really well. No complaints here. Paint and sculpt, it's done really well. It really reminds me of the Griffith statue I used to own. You can check that out right here. Well, I think the Griffith statue was actually better, and I ended up selling that for space reasons because I have this statue of Femto, who is the same person as Griffith. This one's still done really well. Check it out. Fucking Bills scored. So here's her other portrait really quick. I love what they did with the hair, very true to the novel. Very plain expression, but like we talked about, that's kind of her style. I think the eyes are decals, which are fine because they look really good, but I think they did a really nice job with her skin. Hair kind of all over, that short haircut. Good skin tone, almost some freckles in there, like mixed in. I don't know if that's intentional or not. But the base, they add a lot of blood to the outside here because of the fallen enemies or the weapons down here, which I think fits really well. The Band of the Hawk looks a little bit cheesy, but I can get over that. I remember when this character was brought up kind of with the shark helmet, so I like that they added that. So this is true things from the actual Berserk mangas. But tons of armored pieces, weapons everywhere, and it really just shows how badass she is, whether she caused all this damage or she ran into the battle after it. Now the one thing I wish they'd change is there's too many silver and gray tones on the base. The blood helps mix it up a little bit, but it's really clean too. The feathers look fantastic. If you recall during the Griffith Falcon of Light review, I talked quite a bit about those. Looks like they use the same method. You can display them without technically, which I might, but they just add a little color variation and I like that. But the sculpt is really good on the stone stairs. I like that. So the base is really well done. The flag back here is mixed media and it looks great. I'm glad they actually did that. And I just realized it's upside down. Shield on the back. Again, some more Easter eggs that you would never really see. But let's look at Casca. So first, she has her boots that go all the way up. But these look great. I mean, they look like real leather. And you can see a few creases and wrinkles in there. And the seam line up the side. So it looks like it's actual fabric, but it's sculpted. Her ties on the top look good. Give a little bit of a feminine vibe. Because she's always kind of fighting with her masculinity as well, or her feminine, you know what I mean. She's fighting between being around all guys and a warrior, and then also obviously being a female. The skirt and the cape flowing in the wind looks great. I like the battle wear on there, because for a long time they weren't super wealthy. There were a few times in the storyline where they had what they wanted. I like how the armor is pressed over that stuff. Again, more wrinkles on kind of her skirt or shirt she's wearing. Some black shading to really give it kind of that dirty look. Looks great. Here's another shot of the cape and some of the tears in it. Now these technically are supposed to connect together. My hands are just too big. So I'll have my wife help me out. But yeah, armor looks great. And then her portrait up here, so very similar expression. I like the helmet. I would have liked to see more battle damage on her armor. But as far as paint and sculpt, it's all done really well. So nice job for sure. Let's start with the sculpt. I think it's done really well. Not as good as some of the other pieces, but it's beautiful. There's a lot of detail on it. I think the sculpt is a 4 out of 5. Now, one thing, as we talked about with the paint, I wish the ground and the helmets would have varied a little bit more. While the darkness of the statue is probably truer to the character, it just doesn't make it pop. But I still think it's a 4 out of 5 on the paint. Now, is this statue worth it? Because these high-end statues cost quite a bit. Retail on her was $850. Now, there's two different versions of her. The Deluxe, which I have in front of me, and the regular version. They made 500 of the Deluxe and 200 of the regular version. The regular version was about $80 cheaper. Now, obviously, there is a difference between the regular and the Deluxe. So the Deluxe comes with the portrait with the helmet, which is really nice because it really flows with the rest of the statue. And then also the clenched left hand, because you wouldn't want to display the helmet if she already has the helmet on. Now, I picked this up from Comic Concepts. They're a big go-to of mine for Prime 1 Studios statues. I don't get paid to say anything like that. There is a link in the description below. It's not an affiliate link. I don't click if you get anything, but check them out. Cheaper shipping options. Things are usually cheaper than retail. Fantastic customer service. However, you do wait longer for the statues, so kind of a heads up on that. But I figure since I'm going to own a lot of these for years or even decades, who cares what an extra few months is? So is she worth the money? Now, they only made 700, and she is a primary character within Berserk. And with that being said, these pieces are pretty highly sought after. So I'm going to say this is a 4 out of 5 when it comes to value because she's such an integral character, and I don't think she's going to be done again, at least not this well. Does she have the X factor? Is she really impressive? Now, this is a lot of different things that point to this. She is impressive, but she doesn't have the X factor. I'm a big fan of this statue, but I still think it's like, yeah, that's a good statue, which means it's a 3 out of 5 on the extreme scale. It's done really well. It's just not as imposing when I sit her next to some of the other characters, like Zod right here, which is absolutely amazing. So she kind of gets washed out from all of those other characters. Now, this is what I want to know in the comments below. You don't have to tell me, but if you do, you could win a statue. And I read every single comment. Have you gotten into Berserk? And if you haven't, why not? We will be giving all of these statues away, plus additional ones at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Hey guys, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Please give me a like, because the Broncos are losing really bad. Granted, it's preseason. But let me know what you think of the statue too, and if you've been into Berserk. In the meantime, check out some of these other videos. Take care of yourself.